Howdy y'all, DJ TJ here with RollToWound.com. In today's two-part tournament battle report, I'll be taking my Tzeentch Archaon to Hammerfest here in Houston, Texas. It is a 2-day, 5-round Age of Sigmar GT. It is the first GT of the Texas Masters season, so it's a pretty big deal around here. So let's get ready to roll. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Texas Masters season. I also have a link for that on the blog post. In the state of Texas, we have an AOS league that encompasses most of the year, and there's a point structure. And I won't get into all that, but just know that each city, we have Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, and Houston as the 4 major cities in the league. And each city will have a grand tournament, and those points will that tournament there will give you Masters points if you play in it. You can also get points from locals that you play in your city, but the local max is 50 points, and the GT max is like 75 or 100 max. So it's a lot more points for those GTs, and that's why it's a pretty big deal. All the major players from Texas will usually hit 1 or 2 or even 4 of these tournaments up throughout the season. The Masters circuit will end next summer, and it'll take the last I know, it'll take the top 20 players in the state of Texas. We'll get invited to the basically the Masters Invitational. We didn't have the Masters season last year because of COVID, but the previous year I think I placed in 18th or something like that, and I made it to the Masters, and it was very fun, super good time. Lots of great players here in Texas, and there will be a lot at this tournament. If you're interested in some thoughts and overviews about the tournament, Hammerfest, I'll have a link in the description to the Harambe's Heroes podcast. They broke down every single list. I think there was 85 or 86 lists or something. So they had commentary. Some they went pretty in depth on, and some they sort of breezed over if they were sort of redundant. So you can get that good breakdown. I'll have that link also in the description. Now it's time for me to go over my list in pretty good detail. So if you're not interested in that, then go ahead and hit that timestamp and skip on to the first game.
All right, switching scenes on you here just a little bit while I go over this list. So if you watched the previous battle report, it's basically the same list with a couple little tweaks, but it is what it is. So we got Allegiance, Tzeentch, Change Coven, Host Arcanum. I did debate taking Guild of Summoners because I think that it would be just really awesome on turn 1 or 2 to get a Lord of Change out on the board with this. I think that is 100% viable, but I stuck with Host Arcanum because I really liked having the Screamers also, so just sort of went that way. The 6-inch move, when I first started playing this list, I used it a little bit more, but since you have to do that before we pick who goes first, I have sort of not really been doing that with Archaon too much, just because if I'm going first, I can probably make a first turn charge anyway without it, and if I'm not going first, that's just giving them an extra 6 inches of a free charge on him. I do like the auto dispels or unbuys. They, you would think that something that only happens once every other turn, but I'm telling you what, some armies are built around a really clutch spell, and it's just so nice saying, nope, not going to happen, possibly 3 times in a game. The Fang Circlet I sort of talked about a little bit with the Screamers. Invaluable in this list. Not only does it give some really good mobility to the list, but it allows me a fast screening unit. And I played them one of 2 ways. I play them either as I pop them out on my turn and they're going to shoot up the board somewhere, grab an objective, or I'll pop them out, let them go to a flank, sort of sit and chill out, wait for the opponent to sort of clear out that side, wait for the opportune time for them rush up the board and try to take one of their back objectives. Or predominantly, too, I use them as a screen. Because I'll talk about it in a minute, but the Chaos Lord and the Chaos Sorcerer Lord will try to accompany Archaon up the board or into the midfield or wherever we're doing, and it really is helpful to have the unit of Screamers, if nothing else, to go with those and screen. Another interesting way to use them is if you're deciding to alpha strike with Archaon, they can keep up with him even with his even if he's taking a 7 or an 11-inch auto charge or whatever it is. And if it's a mission where the enemy has objectives around their line, you can catch some opponents off guard because Archaon's counting as 5 models, and then those screamers will count as a 6 more. So you got 11 models, and sometimes people aren't prepared to have 10 or 15 models on an objective. Sometimes maybe they just didn't deploy like that. So there was a couple times that in games that I've seen where that was a viable thing. I don't really use the command ability. Don't think I've ever put it on the screamers. So that's about it for Host Arcanum. So let's get down to the general. It's the Changecaster Herald of Tzeentch. I picked him primarily to get a demon hero out of the board because that's going to give me extra bubbles of negative to hit for all the horrors. The Laura change is Arcane Transformation because you'll see everything in this list is basically there to make Archaon better and do what he does better. So Arcane Transformation has given me one extra attack on one of my weapons, which most of the time you'll put it on Slayer of Kings. He also has a signature spell, so if I cast Arcane Transformation and then I spike the dice, he'll get that second cast, and then I'll like to throw out his mortal wound spell if there's an enemy obviously in range. It's a hard spell to do, but if an enemy's in range and it's sort of my second cast, sometimes I'll just say, hey, I'm going to use this once per game, throw the 3 dice, try to hit it, especially if the rerolls up, because that's some extra mortal wounds going out there. So very handy. I think a Changecaster is a pretty good foot hero, especially for the cost. Moving on to the Blue Scribes. The Blue Scribes are there pretty much for their ability to cast Boon of Tzeentch, like automatically on a 2-up. That spell is going to give me bubbles because, once again, we're buffing Archaon. Everything we're doing in this list is to make him better, and there's 2 spells in here that you need to put on him every turn to make him just insane. And the way we help do that is by Boon of Tzeentch. It's pretty good odds not rolling that 1. You get those rerolls, and it's just like you can reliably get those spells on him. So that's why they're there. I did take Bolt of Tzeentch as their other spell just in case, because I do find on this list that it's a little light on mortal wounds. So just in case maybe I'm out of position with things, maybe that there's just like a hero I need to take 2 wounds off, whatever the situation, I like having that redundancy of Bolt of Tzeentch. And we'll talk about in a second why I have it on multiple units. There's plenty of other spells to take on the Blue Scribes. The Blue Scribes can also learn spells, and I will admit 100% that's one of my weaknesses. Me playing this list is that I don't really roll for that a lot or calculate it, and I probably should. If I was a little bit more mindful of it, I could really stack the spells on these guys. That being said, 95% of the time they're casting Boon of Tzeentch anyway, so me really taking the time to calculate and make them rolls for that, I just saw it as sort of, unnecessary. But if you take the time to do it, it could be game-winning type stuff on those guys. So Blue Scribes, super good. The other thing I want to talk about Blue Scribes real quick is that they're really fast. They are sneaky fast, okay? So having them in this list, there's not too much speed. I mean, Archaon's fast, and once you get the Screamers out there fast, but other than that, it's a real static army. Having those Blue Scribes be able to move 16 or 22 inches is insanely good because you can set yourself up to take backline objectives. You can, shoot them out the side and run away. If, let's say, something happens and Archaon dies and they're sort of rolling up your lines and you don't want to use your grand strategy prize sorcery, take the Blue Scribes and just run them away. So the speed that they have is just really, really nice. So it's underestimated speed. That being said, both of those hero units are mighty squishy, so they're only 5 wounds, I think a 5-up save, and they will die very quickly. So you must protect them, keep them on the back, keep them behind the lines, keep them in cover, do the best you can to hide them. All right, we're getting down to Archaon the Everchosen. Archaon the Everchosen he is the catalyst for this list. He is the one that is doing the damage. He's doing the work. He's absorbing, the punishment. He's doing it all. How do you play him? So depending on your play style, the mission, the matchup, you can be super aggressive and do a first turn charge. But this list is a 3-drop. So you're going to be going first. You're having choice a bit of the time, and depending on how the enemy deploys, if they set some really juicy targets up front, and you know that, hey, if I can go and auto charge them, I can smash them, and I could take away 25 to 33% of their army in my first turn. That's something to really think about with him. However, doing that puts you out of your bubbles for your next turn, so you can be sort of hanging out there if you get caught, out of your bubbles of casting and stuff. I found that the way that I like to play Archaon is actually in the midfield. Let them rush you, or let them actually come all the way over to you and let yourself just be castled up with all the pinks protecting you on your flanks, holding all the objectives. And Archaon can just pick and choose his target and literally just start removing things. Fighting in your territory or the midfield is very nice. Now, getting hemmed in it can be an issue, because obviously if they send their whole army and sort of lock you in, but I'm telling you, Archaon is going to eat through units, so you can unlock yourself out of that box, and then they're going to find themselves, oh goodness, I don't have anybody left, pretty quick. Now, he's not unkillable. If he's not buffed up, he's very redundant. It's 20 wounds with a 3-up save. He has a 4-up ward, a spell shrug. However, he's not unkillable, so you need to buff him. And that's one thing why you love to run him in Tzeentch, because of Shield of Fate. Shield of Fate is a super, super great spell. Shield of Fate allows you to reroll all failed saves, and if you're at full Destiny dice, it gives you an extra spell shrug. So if somebody casts anything at you, Nagash rams you with full load of arcane bolts, you're going to get his normal shrug, and then you'll get another 4-up spell shrug. So you're getting 2 spell shrugs off this. So basically, no one should target you with a spell, because the odds say that it's not going to go through. You think about that. You've got your normal dispel 2, and if it's a turn 1, 3, or 4, and it's something that's going to hurt you bad or really debuff you or lock you down, you got your auto dispels. So I won't say Archaon is spell resistant, but when he has Shield of Fate up, he's very, very spell resistant. The reroll all saves, usually you're going to have a Mystic Shield on him as well. And then Ocular Visions are all out defense. So you're having multiple plus saves. You should be at a 1 to save most of the time, re-rolling all. Other than that, one of the keys to make him really good is using your gifts of worship. I think it's Reckless Abandon, which is if you charge an enemy unit over 9 inches and there's no other enemy units within 9 inches, he's going to get +1 to all his attack profiles. Think about that for a second. He's got 4 different attack profiles. You're going to add +1 to each one of them. You get Arcane Transformation off on him. You can put an extra. So Slayer of Kings is like 6 attacks. You're getting 6 dice for Slayer of Kings, okay? You're getting 3 for the claws. You're getting the 2d6 plus 1 for the tail, and then at full, it's like 7 for the and you're getting like 7 attacks for the heads, for the 3 heads. He's putting out a ton of damage, and we'll talk about how we actually increase that even more. So just know that before we, as I move on from what Archaon's actually doing and how we're playing, like you're using Destiny dice to charge, you're buffing him up with Gifts of Worship, you're buffing him up with like 4 different spells. He's going to be not unkillable, but very, very, very hard to kill. And he is going to put out some really good damage, and damage that works against hordes, damage that works against heroes, damage that works against like wards. It's like he's just got all these ways to damage an enemy. And he's fast. So what's not to love, right? He has the aura of which actually comes in handy. sometimes his +1 to bravery aura and +2 to bravery for friendlies, -2 for enemies. So, you're debuffing everybody. You're making them, have worse battle shock tests. If you can spend a command point in your hero phase if you think he's going to die, like I'm going to run him over there and he might die, but just in case, I'm going to spend a command point. So if he does die, he's going to get to attack before he dies. So, that's extra insurance, because sort of Archaon is the motor that makes us run. And if it's early game and he goes down, you're going to have a hard time winning that match. But if it's late game, turn 4, or 5 even, he dies, you still got usually enough pink horrors on the board to continue to hold for a turn or so. And if he's done 2 or 3 rounds of combat, he should have taken the enemy army, down a pretty good bit. All right, so moving off of Archaon, and there's just so much to talk about. I could talk for 30 minutes on how to use him and just all these different nuances and stuff, but we're going to move on. Chaos Lord. Chaos Lord is basically there to give Archaon an extra activation in combat. Now, it's not guaranteed every turn, because number 1, you've got to have a command point to use it. Number 2, the Chaos Lord has to be wholly within 12. And remember, Archaon's pretty fast. That's why we like fighting in the midfield or like fighting in our territory, because the Chaos Lord can't keep up if you don't. Even with running and stuff, he just can't keep up. So you want to keep the Chaos Lord close. It does happen at the start of combat is when you have to give that. So there's a couple of things. No all-out attack, no all-out defense during that. You're using your command ability for Archaon during the combat phase on that extra activation. And the biggest thing that's a detriment to it is that you can be roared. So if you run Archaon into some monsters, they could decide to roar you. If you get roared, you can't get that ability. So just keep that in mind, that you have to sort of pick and choose your targets. You have to be careful with that, how you do it, or you just have to go in knowing, hey, I might not get this off. Hopefully they roll a 1 and I can still use it. So just keep that in mind. However, 100%, 120 points for 1 to 2 possible activations in a game for Archaon is worth the money every day of the week. And on top of that, the Chaos Lord isn't a horrible hero. He's like a decently survivable. He's got a little bit of wounds. So if you need somebody to go sit on an objective and hold that, or sort of run and contest something, he's not horrible. He's not unkillable, but he's way more tanky than your regular Tzeentch heroes are. All right, moving on to the Chaos Sorcerer Lord. His signature spell, Demonic Power, is worth its weight in gold. That is the primary thing. If you can't get any other spells on Archaon, you need to put Shield of Fate, and you need to put Demonic Power. Demonic Power is going to let him reroll all hits and wounds. And let me just tell you that generally just rolling, even though Archaon has pretty solid hit profiles and wound profiles, those rerolls, they're just increasing your odds dramatically of how much damage he does. And to be quite honest, you're spending so many points into Archaon, you need him to do the damage. You need him to really, really put the hurt on units, because if not, you've wasted your points. So I feel that, it's one of the best offensive spells in the game, and putting it on Archaon. So you get Shield of Fate, Arcane Transformation, Mystic Shield, Demonic Power. He's also, the Chaos Sorcerer Lord is also going to put his Ocular Visions on Archaon for that extra +1 to save. So the Chaos Sorcerer Lord is there to buff Archaon, and he also has a Bolt of Tzeentch. And I know that's a little redundant. You're like, hey, the Blue Scribes already have it. Why don't you just put it on the Sorcerer Lord? They could cast it, and then the Blue Scribes could learn it. The way I see it is that I'm 90% of the time going to be casting Demonic Power. Bolt of Tzeentch is just in case I'm out of range for Archaon, or once again, I have this one unit I'm trying to put a mortal wound on. I can't bank on, the Blue Scribes, might need that at any point, and maybe the Sorcerer Lord has never cast it, or vice versa, or whatever. So I really like having that that mortal wound potential if I need it, sort of in my back pocket. And I think it's a good. I mean, there's other options for spells. I just like having mortal wound spells. They're very situational, but they can literally, kill that extra 2 models off an objective. They can finish off a hero. They can soften up a big monster. So whatever it is. All right, moving into the rest of the meat of the list is 3 units of 10 pink horrors. They did get the pretty big nerf in the last FAQ, but they still do what they're supposed to do. For 215 points, they're 50 wound units, and they just sit. They take up space. If you're in your bubbles, they're -1 to hit. They just do their job, and that's what I need them to do. I just need them to hold objectives and screen and keep the casters alive. They also get a shooting attack. Once they get down to blues and brims, especially brims, you know, 20 models at 2 attacks each on 4s and 4s is not bad attack profiles. They are actually better now at close combat than I think they are at shooting. They still get shots too. The pink horrors right now, I know, and the way I played them, I love to bring them back. I love to make my 50 wound unit like a 55 or a 60 or a 75 wound unit by bringing stuff back with Life Swarm, Rally, whatever it was. We can't do that anymore. But I still feel that they're actually worth the money all day, every day. And if you're playing Tzeentch, there are other options. You got to at least take 1 unit of pinks. I mean, I think that just any list needs at least 1 unit of pinks, if not 2. Now, the 3rd unit you might can decide to do something else with. I could put a Screamers in here instead, but I felt that the 3 units of pink, they're just holding my side of the board. They are just like, you have to really concentrate on wearing them down. So they're worth a buy all day of the week. That's it. I'm at 1980 points, so you get a Triumph. The Triumph that I like is the Inspired. I like the extra wound rolls. And it's a 4-drop. So, I mean, it's a 3-drop. So it does give you a lot of opportunities to pick who goes first or second. So after this, at the end of this battle report, in the comments, let me know, what do you think about the list? How would you use it? What little tweaks would you make to change to make it better? Just let me know. So next up, I'm going to have a little view of the display board and the models, and you can sort of check out what the army looks like for the display.
Alright, so right here you can see the display board. I got some LED lights. I sort of built this frame here that goes around, and then it's basically on a piece of plexiglass, and then I put crackle paint on it. The crystals were resin. I bought them online, and it lights up. LEDs just came off Amazon. I sort of put them around inside. Has a remote to control it. So just to add a little extra flair to the board. Alright, I know I didn't comment on this. This video is being shot about a week prior to the event. I'm just doing my intro and stuff and giving my pre-tournament thoughts. The one thing that I like to do for any of these GTs is I sort of set personal goals for myself. And one of my personal goals in this, I want to put... I'm going with 3. I'm going with 3 enemy heroes in the sword. So that's one of my goals. I want 3 enemy heroes in the sword. We'll see if we can do that. That means I'd have to get, I got 5 games to do that. So it is doable. I'm going to shoot for 4 wins. I know that, you want to win every game. You want to go to the podium. I think this list is a 4-win list. I think that a good player can take this and win 5 games with it all day. I've already looked at all the opposing lists. I know a bunch of the opposing players. So there's about 7 or 8 hard counters to this list at the tournament, and most of them are being ran by opponents you're going to see on day 2 with 3 and 4 wins. I mean, it's going to happen. So I'm probably going to get some tough matchups, but I'm setting a personal goal. I'm going to try to get that 4 wins for me. That would be really great. There are a lot of painting points in this, so if I could pull 4 wins with the painting points, it'll put me pretty good standing for the Masters season. Alright, that's all I've got for right now. So I'll see you guys in, a second, but in reality I'll see you next week at the tournament when we get that first game. So stick around, and we're jumping right into that first matchup at Hammerfest 2021. All right, I'm here with
Jonathan.
And Jonathan is playing a beautifully painted Iota Deepkin army. We are playing First Blood. I have deployed, he has deployed, he outdropped me, so he's going to get the choice of who goes first. Who's going first?
You're gonna go first.
I'm going to go first, so let's go with Tzeentch turn 1 and see what happens. All right, well, I got the turn, I wrapped it up. I got every single buff on Archaon I could get. He was out of Dispel range, and he's got Mystic Shield, Ocular Visions, Shield of Fate, Demonic Power, and Arcane Transformation. I moved him up. We took the center objective. I ran the pinks over here to take that side objective. I've castled up right here because he's going to be able to outflank. So I'm really just trying to protect myself a little bit. I took Ferocious Advance and got it, so I scored 2 for that. I scored 1 for controlling a victory point, 1 for controlling 2 or more, and 1 for controlling more than my opponent. So it brings me to a total of 5 this turn, and we're going into Iota Deepkin turn 1. I'm going to go and do a recap. All right, so Jonathan's turn is he cast 1 spell. He was out of range for my Dispel. He ran pretty much everything over here. He got Ferocious Advance with the 2 sharks and 1 unit of guard. He's castling up and taking that objective. Over here he came in with these guard and he made a charge into those pinks. And to be quite honest, he had some pretty rough rolls. Really low on a lot of stuff. Thank goodness for me. He did complete his tactical objective. He is only holding 1 point, so you're only getting 3 points for the turn. We're going to go into the roll-off for turn 2. I got a 5 to a 1. All right, probably going to take it, but let me look at the board. All right, so finished up my turn. We're taking it pretty slow. We're looking up lots of rules. This is Jonathan's this is your first tournament.
First tournament ever.
All right, so we're already short on time. Who would have thought I'm always short on time? But into my turn, basically Archaon came over here. He got his 9-inch charge off. He was able to kill the 2 sharks and the Leviathan.
Yeah.
You don't see him, but the Screamer bases are still out. They charged in to try to soak up the Overwatch, but I didn't measure right. So he ended up doing it anyway, but did not end up hitting on it. So I moved up here in the center. Archaon is fully buffed, also in the hero phase. I moved up in the center. I summoned 10 blues just to help screen out my heroes there. And then these guys, they did about 1 wound. They lost about 13 blues. So we're still going to hold that point. But it's going into Iota turn 2, so Iota turn 2, we're going to see what he can do and see what's left around. Oh yeah, he piled in and did 3 wounds with his general on Archaon, which was pretty amazing. I felt a lot of re-rolling 1s, but it's a good deal. Go ahead and do your thing, man.
All right, we got the next. He's gonna shoot 8 little fishies.
All right, we didn't talk about it last turn, but I got total 7 points, 1 for killing the battle line, or 2 for killing the battle line. I killed it with Archaon, so I got a bonus. I held 2 points and 1 more than him, so I got 3 for that, and I killed a monster, so I got a total of 7 that turn. Yeah. Jonathan's doing his turn. I just wanted to take a shot of this. I thought it was pretty cool. Archaon is surrounded by eels, and there's going to be a lot of swinging going on here in a second. Let's just start. All right, so Jonathan finished up his turn. His battle tactic was to take this objective, but just rolling. I made some good saves too. Archaon actually did not do very much damage in combat, but they didn't do much back to him. He was able to kill 1 guard, so I did hold that point in the end. So no points for him this turn. We are going to call the game. It's almost time. We're not going to have time to start another turn. Jonathan, so thanks for playing. I know.
No problem.
It was a slow game, and that's both of us. We were just being methodical of what we were doing, and that's totally fine. I don't want you commenting out there that I'm always the slowest guy in the tournament, because I am. But we're moving on to round 2, and I ended up, we'll work out the points for this round and see where everybody sits. Oh, and I did want to comment on very beautiful painted army here. I have often looked at Ida and said, man, I would like to play that army because I like the aesthetic. I like how they look. But here's the final board, and just for the fun of it, let's roll a who would go in. I got a 5. Roll for your to a 3. So I would 1, and I would have took the turn and rock and rolled.
So first game was in the books. It was a fun game against Jonathan. Like I said, he was a new player, or is a new player. It's his first tournament. He ended up doing pretty well at the tournaments. If you go back and look at his scores, he did pretty good. I think Deepkin still has some play in 3rd edition. They have a lot of cool tactics. Their monsters are even better now. Their shooting's even better now. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little resurgence of some Ida Deepkin. They used to be the bane of early 2nd edition. They were a very hard tournament army, and they've sort of fallen out of favor recently. But as you can see from his scoring, he's done pretty well with them. As far as my game, I got lucky on rolls. He wasn't able to take that point really with that unit. Once they came in, I was sort of expecting them to wipe that unit of horrors that was holding that point, and I was fine with that. I was going to let him do it and then worry about that later. And it was really just a combination of sort of bad rolls on his side and good rolls on my side that sort of held that point as long as I did. Getting the turn 2 roll off was very helpful. It allowed me to buff up, go, and start killing things. However, I felt that I was in a really good position. Even if he had won it, I was okay where I was setting. Not a lot of real great tactical insight on this one. It was pretty much just like buff Archaon, hold points, run forward, smash. But great tournament, and Jonathan's also a local guy here in the Houston area, so I hope to see him in some future tournaments. And his army is beautifully painted. He's already getting way better at the game, so I imagine over the next couple of years he's going to be a pretty regular entity in a lot of the local scene. So 1 win down, still nothing in the swords yet. I did have the opportunity to go up against his general, and I didn't do any wounds. I didn't roll any 6s for the sword to put his general in, so that was really my only opportunity to do it this game. But we got our first win, so moving on to game number 2.
We're playing round 2, Tectonic Interference. I'm here with Austin from Austin? From Austin. Yep, there you go. He's got a nicely painted Gloomspite Gitz army, and he's a 2-drop. I am a 3-drop, so he's going to get choice.
I'm going to let you go.
He's going to let me go, so I'm taking this turn, and I was actually hoping you would go first. I think I was pushing on that. All right, so I'm going to go.
It's a tough decision with your army. I don't really know which one.
I think I just went through the fastest turn I've ever done, and even though I spent like 10 minutes thinking about what I was doing. So we just moved up and took all 3 points. I ran to get my battle tactic. I debated a way to get around his fanatics coming out. It just didn't really work. So I just kept Archaon back. We're going to play defensively and hope he gets really bad rolls and not the double turn. But we're going into Gloomspite, turn 1.
All right, so on Austin's turn, he basically moved everything up. He did aggressive expansion and ended up taking the 2 outside points. This center point was really close. He tried a couple charges and they were really long bomb with the trolls, sort of failed him. Took a couple wounds from shooting from the trolls, and that's pretty much it. First turn was really fast. Here's a, so he ended up with a total of 4 points this turn. Here is the big roll-off.
Before that,
oh yes,
I'm gonna move the moon.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't.
All right, moon rolled a 1. Here is, we got a 4. Yep, and he rolled a 1. I'm gonna look at it for a second, but more than likely gonna take it. All right, not the worst turn, not the greatest turn. Archaon didn't get his buffs from charging. Basically, I sort of moved everybody around. I was able between really battle shock the screamers, battle shock the hoppers off over there. And we took that point. We took the center. I was able to pull in his middle unit of hoppers. Archaon really didn't do a ton of damage for the -1 to hit because I didn't have demonic power up. And I was able to take this point. My battle tactic for this turn was aggressive expansion for those 2 points, and I got it. Plus, I took 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 plus 2, once again, we're going into his turn 2. All right, so we're wrapping up Git's turn 2. He was able to take this as his, he took Conquer and killed all the Screamers off. Very close, he had to re-roll that charge because I redeployed. Then they came in here and we got a big monster mash in the middle. I was able to still hold it by a little bit. And Archaon, we still got 2 stabbers left. And then we didn't do any wounds to this unit here. So we're gonna check some time. He ended up scoring 2 for his primary. He holds 1, so he got 3 for this turn. Let's check time. All right, so we've got enough time. We're going to do another turn. We got priority roll coming up.
Moon is global now.
All right, the moon is in the center. Uh-oh. I was able also, I've never done this before, I was able to use a monstrous smash to rubble on his loon shrine. So that was pretty nice. And now we're going into some rolling off. I rolled a 6, but I declared if it is not flat on the table, I'm not taking it. So I re-rolled a 6. So there you go. All right, not a horrible turn, but not really good for me. Archaon was still locked in combat over here, so I wasn't able really to get him out. I just ran him to position him better for a later turn and to screen off his big squig. He like smashed me with the trolls and did 18 wounds. I battle shocked a few out. He still got units out. I did manage to achieve my battle target, which was killing the two remaining stabbers. And I held the center point and the side point. But once again, I made a huge mistake. I have not brought out any of my summoning in either of the first turns. So that's a huge blunder by me. That's where we're sitting. We're going into Git's turn.
God's name is that thing.
Turn 2? Turn 3? Turn 2. Oh, that's Archaon.
I don't know anything about it, just Sigmar.
So we finished up Austin's turn 3. That squig is dead over here. Archaon just moved, like I said, at my turn. He wiped that unit. He moved back. He took Savage Spearhead, and he got those 2 units in Savage Spearhead. They basically wiped the brims, and that unit of horrors is hanging on. So that's where we're at. We're going to talk it out. We got 15 minutes left in the game. All right, we just finished up here. We sort of talked it out, but honestly, it didn't end up being in his favor to talk it out. So we just left it stand at 3 turns. So I ended up winning 17 to 12, I think it was. So we got a game 2 win. Still nothing is in the sword. Take a view around here. Nothing is in the sword yet, which, that was one of our tactics. I have not had an opportunity but one time to attack a hero, so we'll see how it goes. Check out the prize pool over here.
So there we had my game 2 against Gloomspite. There was a couple things in this game that were interesting. I haven't played Gloomspite in a while. They once again, it's one of those armies that's fallen out a little favor, but they still have a little bit of play. They can bring mass bodies. They have a bunch of interesting mechanics, and they had one interesting thing that sort of countered what I was trying to do. And when I was looking at first turn charges and getting in, the problem is those fanatics. They pop out. When they pop out, it's in the charge phase, I believe. So what that would have done is if I moved right outside of 9 and was trying to get my reckless abandon, well, he would have popped out those fanatics, and that would have made it a closer charge for me into them. Well, I wouldn't have got my reckless abandon. So that was why first turn I was sort of real skeptical in doing it. Second turn, when it was my turn, I really spent a good amount of time trying to position my horrors and some other of my units in a way that he could not pop them out, and because they got to come out like 3 away from an enemy, and there's some stuff, and still allow Archaon to get a 9-inch charge. And I sat and tried it. Well, he ended up still getting them out anyway. So I just said, hey, we can't keep messing around with this. We got to go full on and handle them. I hit him with a stomp when I came in, so I killed a couple of them, and then from there he sort of filled some roles. I will say that, in Austin's defense for the game, that there was many roles that went not in his favor. It was just I wouldn't say I was rolling hot. I was probably rolling average, but there was a couple big whiffs by his units, a couple failed charges, just a couple rolls that just didn't really go in his favor. And my list, countered what he did pretty well. And Archaon, if we'd have won another turn, would have just sort of went in and killed all the trolls. When I was commenting on talking it out, for those of you new to tournaments, when you're getting low on time, when you get down to 30 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever it is, you sort of, and that next turn is going to start, you and your opponent have to have a little bit of a dialogue and say, hey, look, we've got 30 minutes left. Your opponent just can't take that 30-minute turn themselves. You sort of have to split that. That's part of the etiquette that we've always had. So that's why we always say, let's talk it out and see what happens. What are you planning on doing? What points can you score? What points can I score? How is this going to look? And if you come to an impasse, then you sort of have to play a short turn. You can bring a judge in. But most of the time, especially tournament players, we can look at things and go, okay, if you do X, Y, I'm going to do X, Y, and this is the points we'll end up with. So after we sort of talked it out for a bit, I was like, I told him, I was like, look, we can play it out, but if we go and do that turn, you're actually going to make less points than you have now, because he was going to do X, Y, and Z, and I was going to do X, Y, and Z, and I would end up basically making a lot more points than him. So I think we actually did roll some dice on it and try a few things, and then he sort of saw like, yeah, Archaon's killing everybody. So we sort of just left it be. And in this instance, it wasn't against my favor. I'm like, hey, it's fun. I'm not trying to get into those things where it's really detrimental to a player. Now, if it would have been a win-loss, then hey, we have to talk these things out. We have to roll some dice. We have to figure out the best course of action for both players. But in this instance, I was winning either way. So, one battle point here or there, it doesn't make, that big a deal. Or does it? So it totally fine, and I did enjoy the game with Austin. His army was beautifully painted. It was fun to see him, and hope we'll see him in Austin coming up in a month or so. And so that wraps part 1 of the Hammerfest GT Battle Report and Review. Guys, a couple more days, I'll put out part 2, which will have the last 3 games. Remember that the link to the blog post has all these lists, all these standings, all these results. So maybe you've not seen an army that you play against or play with, and you want to have some more information. Go check out that. Link, and there's a lot more stuff there for you to dig into. Once again, thanks for watching, and y'all be good.